Hello.
Hello. Hold on, let me record on GarageBand.
Oh,
There
wow.
you go.
They're just
It's
a
very
professional.
exciting.
Yeah.
A
Well,
true
I texted her before this to record on GarageBand. So my
Yes.
name is Brian. This is
Hi.
Drew.
Nice
Hello.
to meet you both. Hello,
Nice to meet you.
Olivia.
So you're recording.
Yes, I'm recording.
Excellent.
I am recording.
It's all downhill from here.
Great. That's what I like to hear. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the best kind. Downhill.
Drew and I were talking about this before you came on, and I'm just so curious about what you're nostalgic for, because you were born in 1998, right?
Yeah.
And we're super old.
Yeah, we're super old. So I was born in 1987. I was going to say 97. 1987.
Nice.
Drew.
84.
I don't know what you were.
Yeah.
Wow. Incredible. Yeah. Incredible.
So what are you most nostalgic for? Being born in 1998, it has to be like, by the time 1998 hit, I was 11. And, by the time you were a conscious person, I was in my teens.
Yeah.
So what do you remember most about your childhood? What do you wish that you still had around, or what do you kind of reach out for to try to pull back with you into your adulthood?
This is a great question. I feel like I've been feeling very nostalgic lately, because I feel like the alien apocalypse is on its way, and I'm like, to only go back in time and get to, experience a world untouched by such impending doom. But yeah, oh man, I feel like I really miss, you know what I really miss? The old Gatorade bottles. Do you remember the design of the old Gatorade bottles?
I do, yeah.
Like
I actually do.
Like the times that the Gatorade bottle looked like it did when I was a kid, the simplest times so I really miss the old Gatorade bottles. I miss like normal TV and looking up like movie times and newspaper. I miss, this is a great question. What are some of y'all?
Yeah, well, you know what? You bring that up, and I remember times when, my dad or my brother or my friends would want to go see a movie, and we would look in the newspaper for movie times. Yeah. And I miss that so much. It was so simplistic, and I love that. And it's just all disappeared. And then what you said with, scheduled programming on TV. Yeah. Like it takes away that anxiety that you have now of having such a massive just platform that you have to go through and finger through to find something, and it's unlimited, where back in the early 2000s you had to actually schedule it. It was you had to be like, hey, what are you doing at this time on this day? This is gonna come on, we're gonna watch Mrs. Doubtfire on Wednesday at 8:00. You better be there.
There would be there would be ads for it on TV, and you could they could hype you up.
Like, I hope I'm home on Thursday night. Because I have to watch, you know what I mean? Like,
even the commercials then, like, we used to complain about the commercials, and now it's like, I want the commercials. Like, give me the commercials, but don't give me the commercials that we have now that keep repeating over and over. Commercials.
Something I did a lot during quarantine was you can go on YouTube, and I would watch like old people who like did recordings on VHS tapes of Jeopardy episodes, and then they put like the whole thing on YouTube.
That's
and
not
so
weird
it's
at all.
yeah, I know.
No,
I'm
serious.
I'm down.
We do that. I do that.
And it was so fun, because it would be like Jeopardy, and then it would be like cut to commercial, and it'd be like, Disney World Mission Space is opening this fall 2006, and I was like, this is the most emotional I've been in years.
Or you'd have like a Capri Sun commercial, just whatever, these old McDonald's commercials where they used to have VHS tapes at McDonald's, and they give them out. Like whenever Wayne's World came out, they would give out the Wayne's World VHS tapes. Just like the coolest commercials, and they were so creative because they had to pull you in, because it was their opportunity. But now it's just like, whatever, like we could put our commercials on whatever platform, YouTube, Hulu, wherever, it doesn't matter, we'll just put them on repeat. But then it was like, you have to actually sell the commercial.
I was like, that was ad time, man. That was millions of dollars for that spot.
Yeah. And for a while, you know, I collected VHS that people would record like their favorite TV shows, and they'd have those commercials. Yes. And now it's just like something, it's like a treasure, you know, that people.
It's so fun.
Yeah. Like I'll put them on for my kids sometimes, and they'll watch them and they'll just be like, Daddy, I want this. I want this. And I'm like, you can't have that.
Like it doesn't exist anymore.
No, you can. I'll just get it on eBay.
Yeah, it's obsolete or super expensive.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just so expensive. Hundreds of dollars for like a Lego set.
So are you a fan of like Cartoon Network? Was that something that you were into? Because Cartoon Network was pretty big whenever you were growing up, right?
Yeah, it was huge. I feel like I wasn't. A weird part of my childhood is like I've seen like one episode of SpongeBob. Like I was not a cartoon watcher as a kid.
Okay. Well, I totally had you wrong, because I told Drew before this, I was like, I bet she watched SpongeBob. But you know, maybe so Johnny Bravo.
No, that's the thing. Like none of them I watched.
None of them.
No, none. Like I really didn't watch any. People will make references to cartoons and I'm like, yeah. Yeah.
Well, what did you watch?
I watched a lot of, that's the thing, I was like an old soul child.
Yeah.
So I watched like a lot of TV Land. I watched a lot. So like I've seen every episode of The Twilight Zone.
Oh, my favorite was Gilligan's Island and Three's Company.
Gilligan's Island. I loved Gilligan's Island. I thought it was so funny how they just say like, and Marianne, like she doesn't get a title.
Yeah, and Marianne, but in the beginning they said and the rest. Instead of saying all their names in the first 2 seasons, they were like, and the rest. And it's like,
oh, it's not that they're stuck on an island, just say their names.
They're all main characters on the show. Characters.
It's a bottle show. Like you can just say who's in the show.
Yeah, that would be like if they said like 2 character names from Fear Street. And, or 2 actor names, and then they were like, and the rest, and you're like, what? Come on.
It's like Friends, and it's like Jennifer Aniston and the other ones.
Yeah.
Like, just say it. Just say it. There's only 6 of them. Like it's not that big of a deal.
So
I watched a lot of that.
How did you get the audition for Fear Street?
I did this show called Panic, which was on Amazon, and Lee Janiak, who directed Fear Street. She directed, like Fear Street had kind of been like, it was just in a pause. I think because the IP is so big. So I think they were just like working some stuff out. So she like in the interim time was like, okay, well, I just want to like direct some stuff. So she directed the Panic pilot, and we met like working on that and through auditioning and stuff. And we just got to be like really close. I feel like she's like the closest thing I have to like an older sister in a weird mentory way. So like while we were filming that, she one day like brought up Fear Street to me because she was like, you would love this. Like we had been together for a long time. So I think she started to know like what I liked and what I was like about. So she was like, I'm making these movies that you would actually like really love. And she showed me like her pitch deck and her lookbook and stuff. And I was like, I will do anything to be in this movie.
So she was like your John Hughes and you were her Macaulay Culkin.
Yes. Like she was like, oh, I know what you should be in.
Yeah. This is what you need to be doing.
This is what you need to be doing.
That's
and
so
I was like,
cool.
Sure.
So did you go in for an audition and then get a call back, or how did it work?
Yeah, she had like told me about it, but she was like, I can't just like offer this. Like you have to audition and I have to make sure that you're right for it and stuff. So I did like the whole audition process. So I auditioned a few times by myself. And then I did like one audition as Kate, but I was friends with Julia already. And Lee, I remember being like, what'd you think of my Kate audition? And she's like, it was good. Julia's auditioning. And I was like, oh, well, just give it to Julia. I was like, she's the only person in the entire world that can play. Nice. And I was like, yeah, Julia has to be Kate. Like there's never been a person that has ever existed on this earth that could play Kate better than Julia. But
Drew, would you do that for me if you were auditioning? Would you say, give it to Brian? Would you do that for me?
Give it to Brian.
This is back to
come on, be honest. Would you give it to me? Would you say that? Would you say that?
It depends how much I wanted it for myself. If there was,
really,
if there was
okay, so if I had already auditioned, you wouldn't have been like, oh no, Brian auditioned. You wouldn't say that.
Not necessarily.
Anyway,
no.
let's move on.
Not necessarily. You're like, I can't believe I'm causing such a rift.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, so you got the role.
Yeah, I got the role.
Before you got the role, had you been into the Fear Street franchise? Did you ever read any of the books, or did you start reading them maybe whenever you found out you were getting the role, or did you just not read any at all and just go into it just not knowing anything?
I had never, I still haven't read any. I'll say it here. I'll confess.
No big deal.
I've never read any. I own a bunch of them now. Because I've just like, now it's fun because I love like to go to antique malls and stuff. And so now it's fun to go and like search for them. So I've like found, because there'll always be, sometimes it'll be like 2 randomly stashed away in an antique mall. So it's been fun to like go and find them.
Of course.
And like at Half Price Books, which is like my favorite place in the whole world. I sometimes will find there will be like a little collection of them. And so I always will get them. But I hadn't, but I read Goosebumps was huge when I was growing up. And so I read so many Goosebumps, and I like watched the show, and I was just like a big fan of R.L. Stine. Like I remember in school, like we watched a little documentary about him, and I remember being like, this guy is so cool. He writes all these books that I love. But so I was like excited just by like the property, because
I remember like being a kid, I would watch the Goosebumps TV show, and R.L. Stine would come on before the show and talk to you before the show, and I was like, God, this guy is so scary. But so before that, like there was a time when you can order books, and it was like a magazine subscription. So when I was a kid, every week or like 2 weeks in the mail, I would get a new Goosebumps book. So I still have, I have like maybe like 80. I don't know how many were released, but I have like every single Goosebumps book, and I would read them all. But
that's so fun.
I'm kind of with you on the Fear Street books. Like that was more like my brother's generation. He was older than me.
Yeah.
I would try to read them, but they were a little too scary for me at that time. And then lately I've started to read them, and I'm really enjoying them because you could just like finger through the pages, because the books are so short. The text is so big. Yeah, the text is so big that the book, you could probably read it in a few hours.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, that's so cool that you're collecting them now, because it's going to be such a big legacy for you. Like whenever, in like 10 and 20 years, you're going to be, that's just, if this is like the start of a huge thing in your life, like this huge, I'm going to use one of Drew's words, a touchstone.
Fancy.
A touchstone
Never said
of
that
nostalgia for a lot of people. And you were such an impactful character in these movies that you're going to be remembered always.
Thank you.
That has to be pretty cool for you to know that. Like, you're a huge part of the 90s, 80s culture now.
Yeah. Which I think it's been
in the 1600s culture.
And you were born in 1998.
Yes. But that's the thing. Like, I feel
I could have gotten this role. I could have been a touchstone.
Sam. You could have been a touchstone character in a franchise.
Come on.
But yeah, I do. I feel so like lucky, because that's the thing where it's like I grew up watching those movies, and like I always, because my parents are big movie lovers, and so is like my whole family. So I grew up watching movies, like not necessarily like from my generation, but from their generation, and like growing up and stuff. So like I grew up watching those classic like kind of turning point movies of horror and stuff like that, and I always thought they were so cool. And I remember like being a kid and being so sad, because I was like, I'll never be in a movie like this, because I was born too late, and so getting to do these was so
this brings me to a question. So VCR World has a true like important fan that reposts everything and supports the page completely. So I told them that I would ask a question for him. His name is Tim Chapman, and this it's funny that you bring this up, because it's in the same realm. His Instagram is flashbackvideo_.
Oh my gosh, I think I follow him.
Oh, good. Yeah, he always reposts my stuff, and I always repost his reposts of my stuff. But he says, read an interview a while back. She is a big horror fan. So my question is, what is your favorite horror movie or franchise? And how do you feel about the new trend of reboot sequels like the new Halloween movies or the recent announced Evil Dead Rises or upcoming Exorcist trilogy?
Ooh, this is a good question. Okay, my favorite franchise. I am a huge Wes Craven fan. So I think it truly is like a tie between the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise and the Scream franchise. Because I truly love all 7 Nightmare movies and all 4 Scream movies. I love them all equally. Even the third Scream that people don't like, I'm like, it's fun. They're
it's a great one.
It's sets of the first movie. Maybe it was rushed, but who cares? Movies are rushed sometimes. But yeah, I think it's probably one of those. And then individual horror movie. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's too hard to name individual ones, but
I think it's important. A lot of people will say that these horror franchises that are being rebooted, it's just like stealing ideas. Like nobody has a fresh idea anymore. And it's like, no, there's a whole new generation of people that weren't able to experience the nostalgia that you had for these movies. So whenever these movies were released, you were too young to enjoy them. And so you don't have that attachment to them now. So what's happening now is they're rebooting these movies so that the younger generations who couldn't experience them can experience them now and have an appreciation for them later, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think it's the filmmakers behind all of them are people that I really love. I love David Gordon Green. I think he's a great director. And I love the whole Rough House team. And to me, I'm like, if these people that I love so much as already existing filmmakers, they love Halloween probably more than anybody. You know what I mean? That it's cool that I think that they get to kind of to have it be their baby now. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, you can. I don't have I don't know, the whole reboot conversation. I'm like, make whatever movie you want. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
There's also original movies coming out. And it's if you feel very passionately about making a reboot of something or another iteration of something, then that's the movie that you want to make. So just, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Essentially I'm making reboots of modern movies into retro.
That's like a deboot, I think. Almost.
Yeah, it's a deboot. It's a deboot. Yeah, I'm debooting.
I'm debooting movies.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Drew?
I was just gonna say, if you could get I'm sure filmmakers answer this honestly all the time, but there's obviously a trade-off between what they would want to make and what they can get made. And if the only reason, or if they would strongly prefer to make something that wasn't related to an existing franchise. But David Gordon Green's certainly done both. And Scream, since you mentioned that, is coming back next year. I don't even know if it's long enough to call it a reboot or it's in a limbo amount of time to where I don't think they're calling it a sequel or a reboot. It's just just back. So
Scream,
maybe we'll see
back.
you in the new Scream.
Oh, I would love that. I'd love that. I auditioned and I love that duo. I loved Ready or Not. When I found out that they were doing the new Scream, I was like, that's another one that I was like, I feel like they'll do something really fun with, you know what I mean? And they probably love Scream, really love it. And I follow them on Instagram and they're really excited. And
I heard really cool. What's the girl's name from 90210 is going to be in it that they make fun of in the original Scream, or in Scream, in Scream 2 they make fun of her.
Tori Spelling,
because she's.
I think she's going to be in the new one. I was on Clubhouse and she was talking in Clubhouse, and I think she said that she was going to be in the new Scream movie.
Oh, that's so fun.
She's probably be playing an older
Stab.
character that's
Stab.
within a movie
she's
within the
gonna be
movie.
in Stab. Yeah, because I think that's what wasn't she in part 2?
Yeah, because they make a joke that like I think Nev Campbell in the first one is like, she's like Tatum's like, who do you want to play you in the movie? And she's like, I like it'll be Tori Spelling.
Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's what she was saying. And then someone asked her if she was going to be in the new one, and she couldn't really answer. But
Yeah,
I think by not answering, that means absolutely yes.
Yeah, we
You're
can
gonna
confirm
be
it.
in
like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a confirmation right there.
Yeah, I think so too.
Tim Chapman, thank you so much for asking that question, and thank you so much for supporting VCR World. Like,
Thanks, Tim Chapman.
Yeah, such a cool guy. Like, he sent me
great
beer
Instagram,
one
too.
time.
Oh,
He
that's
sent
so
me
nice.
beer in the mail for nothing. He was just like, hey, do you want this beer? It was like a high C IPA. And I was like, yeah, that sounds really good. He sent it to me. It was
Fancy.
delicious. So
Wow.
thank you. I want to also kind of delve into aliens because you brought it up earlier in
Yes.
the podcast. I am just like obsessed, and Drew knows this. And I just love to talk to people and get to know
Yes.
them through aliens, music, movies, afterlife, artificial intelligence. I just want to get to know a person by what they believe in or what they think about the universe and what's happening around us, because we could talk about acting all day. We could talk about movies.
I was like, I've talked about it so much.
Exactly. It's like you're a successful actress. That's all people want to talk to you about, I'm sure, is just like acting. And it's just like, that's gotta be tiring. Talk to me about something else.
I know. I'm like, you mean we get to talk about aliens? I'll tell you my thoughts.
Yes. So I want to know,
my
have you ever had any kind of experience where you've witnessed a UFO, maybe? And this isn't conspiracies. Let's not go into this thinking we're going to spread conspiracies. This is all fun.
This is all for fun. All alleged.
I've seen stuff. Yeah.
Same.
I think that I've seen stuff, but what do you think you've seen?
Well, okay, this was my most recent one. And there was one day where I was driving. So we filmed that Amazon show Panic in Austin. And so I lived in Austin, and then we filmed in like tiny, like in Bastrop and like tiny towns around Austin. So I would drive myself to work every day in my Jetta. And one day I was driving in like, the middle spaces between towns in Texas. And I was driving, and then this blue light came down from the sky, and I was driving, and I was like, I am going to drive through this. There's no time to stop. And then I did, and my car like shook. And then I just kept driving and was like, well, that was bizarre. Yeah. And I don't know what that was.
That's like Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Did you come out with a sunburn?
No, I didn't come out with a sunburn, but there's an X-Files episode where that happens to them and they lose like 9 minutes. And so I checked my clocks and I didn't lose 9 minutes, but I was like, I know what to do. I've seen this episode of the X-Files.
Don't stop at the train tracks.
I was like, don't stop at the train tracks. Whatever you do.
Yeah, I think that's what happens. The family stops at the train tracks. Yeah. And then they lose so much time, and then the kids disappear or something, or someone disappears, I think. I can't remember. I love X-Files, but
I know, me too. It's the best.
Wow, that's such an interesting story. So this was outside of Austin or in Austin?
Outside of Austin.
Where at? I told you I'm from Texas. So
yeah, I was like, yes. I think I was driving to Smithville. Do you know where Smithville is?
No.
It's very tiny. But it was just like we would film in these towns that were like 45 minutes outside of Austin. So it was like in the between of like Austin to.
Wow.
Yeah.
So did you see a spacecraft, or did you just see the blue light?
I just saw the light. There was truly no time. Like it happened in seconds.
So the light, it wasn't there and then it just appeared?
Yeah, like I was just driving and then it just kind of like flicked down in front of me.
Wow.
It was
and
like
your instinct wasn't, like you said, to slam on the brakes or swerve or panic. I mean, you just
I was like, this is it.
Let it happen.
Take what you need out of my brain. Yeah. It's so little. I did not go to college. Like whatever you want to know.
Yeah.
Have it.
It's and that's the thing. Like, unless you're like an abductee who's had like these like traumatic experiences, I think someone like me who's so curious about everything would just be like, I want to know what happens. Let's see what happens, because I want to be that person that knows. Even if I tell people and they don't believe me, I could be like, yeah, well, I don't care if you believe me because I know.
Because I know that it happened.
I
know that I got abducted by aliens.
That's all that's important.
That's an interesting kind of like thought experiment, though, because it's all fun and game, not fun and games, but it's easy to like imagine, like having that much confidence when you tell someone, but how frustrating it would be if you had like the most intense encounter and then you couldn't get anyone to believe you. It would ruin your life potentially.
Wow.
Because
not if you don't give a shit.
I'm just saying you would. Like now you can kind of like write it off as maybe not, but if you were so convinced, you would spend your whole life trying to convince others, and if you couldn't, that might be very
that's
depressing.
kind of fun though, isn't it, to tell somebody something and they don't believe you and you're just like, whatever, don't believe me.
That's like okay. I tell my dad all the time, I'm like, yeah, I am seeing ghosts, and he's like, you're not, and I'm like, whatever, Dad, you'll never know what it's like.
You're seeing ghosts.
You're missing out.
Yes.
Oh, this is a good segue.
This is a good segue.
Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about pizza toppings. Oh,
okay,
wait.
So Olivia grew up in a haunted house.
I did. My house growing up was so haunted.
Really?
So haunted. Yes.
Oh my God. Tell us.
It's just so haunted. I don't even know.
Give us stories.
There's never been I would always see these like figures constantly growing up. And then like when I there have been times where like I'll hear my sister's voice and she's not home, and then like during quarantine there was one day where like I heard her voice and she wasn't home yet, and I was like, whoa, that was so weird. And then I was like sitting on the couch and she came in and she like said the thing that I had heard earlier, and I was like, ooh. And then I thought it was going to be like the same thing. And I looked up and she was standing there, and she was like, what? And I was like, I can't talk about it right now. I'm too traumatized.
Do you ever have
like weird stuff like that?
Visions?
Yes, all the time. But I also am like I have astigmatism. So I'm like, I'll give myself some skeptic on the periphery stuff.
Yeah. I'll have a lot to drink one night, and then the next day I'm like seeing stuff in my peripherals.
And you're like, what is it? Do they get me while my guard is down?
No, to be serious though, like when I was a kid, I had this experience. I lived in this huge neighborhood, and the neighbors' houses were like 50 feet away from each other.
Yeah.
So there are no street lights. It's out in the country, huge, like tar road. Like the next door neighbor was like a football field away. No. And so one night we always had our patio right by the patio. So window illuminated all the time. And I remember one night I was laying in bed and I saw a figure standing at the window, and it was like an adult man. It looked like an adult man. And you know that feeling when you're so scared, you can't move, you can't scream, you can't talk, you just want to close your eyes and just make it go away.
Yeah.
And so I would do that. And maybe, sometime later it happened again. And I started screaming for my dad, and my dad ran upstairs. He turned on the light. So now the outdoor window.
Wait, you were upstairs and there was a figure?
I'm upstairs. My dad's downstairs. So my house was weird. We had a downstairs, we had a middle, and then we had an upstairs.
Okay, like a little.
But it was because we were on a big hill.
Yeah.
So my dad ran upstairs. He turned on my light. Now the window's no longer illuminated. All I could see is just like a dark window.
Oh.
And there's nobody there. And I told my dad, I was like, there's somebody outside my window. And he would go outside and look and check it out. Nobody's there. It happened again.
Oh.
And I did the same thing and nobody was there. And now I'm just like, holy shit. Like, what if one of my neighbors or somebody was just like standing? But why would you stand outside of somebody's window? Maybe he was just like,
maybe you had a crazy neighbor.
Yeah. I mean, maybe he was like cleaning my windows. I don't know. Maybe I had a really dirty window. I don't know.
Prank.
It was a fun prank maybe. Oh. But it's like whenever you're a kid, like everything is so scary, and especially like in the 90s or early 2000s, there's not a lot of information out there about
No.
like ghosts and paranormal activity. There's speculation, there's stories, but there's no fact really. Whenever you're a kid, you don't listen to the scientists and
No.
exactly. Like your parents are telling you this just to protect you. There's
Yeah.
nothing's gonna hurt you. My parents aren't from New York, but nothing's gonna hurt you. You're fine. But whenever you're a kid, you're always scared of everything. And I lived in this huge house, and my mom had candles lit all the time, like a fucking haunted mansion.
Doesn't she know that that's the first thing you don't do?
Yeah, and it's like that's how Candyman gets you. You know, if you have
lit candles.
I don't know.
Candleman.
Thinking of your own.
Yeah, the Candleman.
Yeah.
The Candleman gets you. But
Candyman's
Drew,
brother.
I'm sure Drew had a bunch of ghostly experiences.
Do you have ghost experiences?
Oh, thanks for setting me up. No, so
yeah,
I would say I have a skeptical nature, but I am not at all dismissive when anybody shares their personal firsthand accounts.
Yeah.
And obviously when I was a kid, I was very good at freaking myself out and lived in a very poorly lit rural neighborhood and loved to watch horror movies and then walk around outside, and everything was super scary. My parents would actually do these immersive like haunted forest experiences for the kids in the neighborhood. Nothing
Nice.
nothing like professional, obviously, but
with
they
hoods
would
and
we had a decent size
robes,
like side lot. Yeah, everyone was dressed up. They would get the other neighborhood parents.
I'm
yeah, so like it was a haunted forest
that
they would create every year. And
That's
like
so funny.
but I never had like specific ghost experiences in the sense of if I did, I'd never like perceived it as a ghost. I would just get freaked out and like blame myself or blame like natural causes.
Yeah.
Blame like other, even before when I was a kid, and not trying to like come up with factual explanations for things. Maybe I just had a literal imagination or a literal mind. But yeah, I would get really freaked out, but I would just assume it was, explainable. It was a dog.
So you were like a little scientist.
You're like,
yeah.
Trick up the light. It's nothing.
I would really freak my sister, on the other hand. She's 2.5 years younger than me. And when she first, like, some other friends that were older convinced her that saying different phrases like Candyman into a mirror or using a Ouija board, like she was so easy to freak out. So maybe in contrast, I felt brave because I could scare her.
Like,
you brought up Ouija boards.
Yeah.
If I have a Ouija board, or if I go to someone's house, now not someone else's house, if it's at my house, let's say someone wants to do a Ouija board and I just have one, which I don't
at all times.
If they want to do one, I'm going to be like, no, I'm not going to do it because I don't want to summon anything into my house. That's just me now. Like, I literally will not do it in my own house.
Yeah.
Do you guys agree with that? Drew, would you?
Yes.
Well, Drew would obviously do anything at this point.
I've never done one because I remember being a kid and my mom was like, do not invite that into your life. Like,
do you remember the movie Paranormal Activity? Have you seen it?
I just, I saw that.
They like go out and they leave the Ouija board on the table and it starts doing all this shit.
Yes.
It is like, that's what's going to happen if you have one.
I know. And it's just a thing too, where it's like, oh, she does a Ouija board and then the exorcist happens. You know what I mean? Like, no, I'm not doing
Why
that.
chance it?
Well, because
I'll leave Skittles out or Reese's Pieces for aliens out in my yard, but I'm not going to leave Ouija board on my table.
No.
Because that's like totally different. Like aliens, I don't think aliens are a threat.
No, I don't think so either. I think if they were a threat, they would have done something already.
That's an interesting topic this is another segue. I want to talk about what aliens really are. And before I talk about what I think, I would love to hear what you think, Olivia. What do you think aliens are? Where do you think they're from? And what do you think is their purpose?
I feel like that's the thing. I feel like aliens are just like something else from, maybe a different galaxy. I have been made aware of a new theory that they're traveling not through space, but in and out of the ocean, which I think, you know what I mean? Like the ocean's insane. It could have some weird portal.
We
don't
even know
the
everything.
end of it. Like the ocean is scarier than space. The ocean is so scary.
Absolutely.
My friend showed me this video the other day of that squid that's like 30 feet long. And I was like, what is this? And where did it come from?
It's an alien.
I had a dream
basically.
that I was looking into the ocean with a telescope, and huge telescope. I was terrified to look into it because it's so deep and so vast.
Yes.
It's almost like looking into outer space. It's unknown, but there's life.
Yes.
There's life we don't even know about. There's out there that we haven't discovered yet. And it's so deep and unexplored. I mean, why there be aliens in the deep blue sea?
Exactly. And there's those videos of the ships like going into the ocean.
Yeah. Like
and
the
I'm
Tic
like,
Tac? Is it the Tic Tac?
Yeah, like the little anti-gravity ones that fly sideways or whatever.
Oh, well,
which also I'm like, here's my other thing. It's about to get a little conspiracy-ish.
What are you going to talk about, Bob Lazar?
Maybe. Who knows?
Do it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. But here's my thoughts. I think that when it's like the Pentagon releases this footage of aliens, I'm like, well, why? Like this could be fake. You know what I mean? Like why now? Why are you, the government, being like, this thing that we've been hiding, we'll give you a little bit now? Like that seems weird to me.
Manipulation.
But so why? Well, because that is always
fear.
An important place to start is what's their motivation?
I think that they try to feed the public fear by distraction and manipulation by saying this is what's happening, and the public is like, oh shit, like now the government's telling us, so they must be scared. Something must be happening.
But
this
I don't
is all
think
conspiracy.
Aliens are bad. This is all conspiracy. This is all alleged. Please, no one from the CIA.
And then there's like Bob Lazar, who worked at Los Alamos.
Yes.
And then he went on to work at Area 51, S4. And he was saying that there were like 13 craft that he only worked on one, and it was like an anti-gravity craft. And he was trying to reverse engineer the technology so that the Air Force could use this technology.
Yeah.
And then his partner, who he was working with, was telling him, oh, well, it's a good thing you're here because the last guy that was here died. And he was like, how did he die? And he was like, I can't tell you. He's like, oh, but you can tell me he died. Okay.
Okay,
but
cool.
Then he like talks about element 115, and it doesn't get discovered till years later. But and that's like a credibility thing. But also at the same time, element 115 was inevitably going to be made because that's just the amount of protons that's introduced into a neutron. Like if you look at the elemental chart, is that right? Am I saying
periodic
that right?
table of elements?
I'm being elemental right now.
Sure.
Don't listen to anything that I say because I'm just a moron and I don't know what
all
I'm talking
alleged.
about. Yeah, it's just stuff that I've watched while I was probably drinking a few glasses of wine. But then but you're hearing all these things from this guy, and people are like, oh, he's a credible source. Like he worked at Los Alamos, he went to MIT, I think, and these places said that they'd never heard of him. That and yet he was in a newspaper. I think at Los Alamos, working at Los Alamos, he was in the newspaper. They said that he never worked there. But he had like won an award or something. I could be wrong. He won an award and was in the newspaper. He's like, if I didn't work there, why would I be in this newspaper?
Yeah.
And so, but at the same time, this is a guy that had a prostitution ring.
What?
Yeah. In the 90s, he had a prostitution in the early 2000s. So it's like, how credible is this source? People say his story never changes, but
there's stuff left out.
yeah, there's stuff left out,
Conveniently left out.
but he's also has a prostitute ring. It's like, okay, how well can I trust him? I think I saw a picture with him holding an Uzi once. But where I was getting at, why I introduced this is because you said that they were flying on their sides.
Yeah.
So
you know that video that I'm talking about?
Yeah, exactly. So he said that they flew on their sides, but they would go belly front. So the top was the bottom of the ship.
Yeah.
And they would travel almost like sideways, upside down.
Yeah. So
there are these videos by Bob Fravor, I think his name was the pilot. I'm pretty sure who the guy who saw it was either the Tic Tac or the video where the ship goes sideways. There's two different videos that are pretty recent.
Yeah. And they have like no heat signature and stuff.
Yeah, and then one of them like dips into the ocean.
Yeah.
Which is pretty interesting. And it's like, why wouldn't they? Like if I would imagine, which I have a different outlook. I'm gonna get there.
Okay, good.
Why wouldn't they be in the ocean, in the unexplored, where we couldn't go to? Like, what if, we wonder about the Bermuda Triangle and in all of these places in between, where ships and planes lose signal, the magnetic field is off. Why wouldn't there be something maybe there where we're just not able to get to? I'm true. Come on. Science me up. What you mean. Prove me wrong. Science me up, please.
This goes back to the ghost thing. Like I think it's probable. It would be insanely improbable that there aren't aliens out there. I guess the big debate now is like, do we have evidence? Has it been covered up? Are these like these new firsthand reports? They are the person is credible and their account is credible, but they're subject to the same like human error of seeing something and they don't have to be like faking their reaction for it to be a misperceived reaction to something that's very hard to see in the video. So like, I think it's hard to cover up things for a very long time. And so, things will leak out slowly.
Yeah, you have loose ends. People.
Yeah.
I mean, people are imperfect.
But I also don't think that there is, now that like everyone is filming everything at all times.
Yeah.
Right.
You would almost think it's probable that if there was stuff here, we'd have more credible evidence of it.
Right.
I mean, like,
so people have abilities now to live stream everything.
Yeah.
So with Instagram, YouTube, everything, there's live streaming. Facebook. Why hasn't there been an instance where someone live streams an aerial phenomenon or a UFO?
Well, here's my thing. Here's my other theory. That like, because I've been on TikTok, I don't have a TikTok, but I went on it for one day. And there was so much footage on TikTok of alien sightings and stuff like that. And that was the thing too, where I was like, this could be real, but it could also be, back to my government leaking it on purpose point. The government's like, all right, everybody's got TikTok. Let's start putting out fake alien stuff because we know people will videotape it.
Or it could be just a bunch
noise.
of
really
so much awesome millennials with really good After Effects.
That's the other thing too. I was like, there's the Photoshop is, I was like, we have the Marvel franchise. Like CGI is so good.
It's insane. Like Control Shift Face or whatever it is. Like the
deep fake stuff.
The deep fake stuff.
Weird.
Like that's insane. And it's almost like, if you think about the future and you think about technology and movies, we could have a whole new Lethal Weapon franchise or a whole new like, let's say like, you don't even have to think about it like that. You could almost construct your own movie in the future and pick your favorite actors from your favorite time. You could be like, I want Mel Gibson in the 90s. I want Harrison Ford in the 80s. and I want this to be the plot. And you could have a movie with these famous actors paused in time because we have this technology.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
Isn't there that James Dean movie where it's like James Dean is starring in it? Do you remember this? They like announced this before COVID, definitely, but there's a movie that they're having, I can't remember who is doing it, but they're like, James Dean is the star and we're going to deep fake him into this movie.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I love that.
It's crazy. It's so crazy.
But you got to think about what that's going to do for the movie industry. You got to think about
people have been like, do you think your job will become obsolete? I'm like, well, I hope not.
Think about the musicians.
Yes.
Think about
them all.
Think about, before we had Spotify, before Napster, which was a huge thing in the music industry and a huge downfall in the music industry. Musicians were being paid tons of fucking money. Like, I remember there was an interview with the singer of Smashing Pumpkins, and he was like talking about buying a fucking Ferrari. He was like, I just wanted to buy a Ferrari. He was like, I had so much money. I just wanted to buy a Ferrari. And it's like, musicians used to make so much money, and now it's all political. It's all about views. So like, well, like whenever they have like the award ceremonies, it's all about that. Like, who's going to watch it? Who's going to be a contributor? Who's going to buy their music? Who's going to, but everything is so different now in the music industry, and it's going to happen in the movie industry. It's going to happen, especially with technology and AI. We're not going to have to pay these actors. What's going to happen? This is my guess, is actors are going to be paid a certain sum of money for the rights to their face.
Probably. That makes sense.
Yeah.
There was that like half animated movie about that. Did you see that, Brian?
Yeah, it was with the girl from Princess Bride, and she was in Forrest Gump, right?
Robin Wright?
Yeah.
I think it was Robin Wright.
Yeah. I'm forgetting what that movie was called, But basically, you would kind of like sign up an actor for a lifetime license, and then they wouldn't have to work anymore, but they wouldn't have any control over what kind of material you put them in.
What? This kind of happened in Space Jam recently. The new Space Jam movie.
I haven't seen it.
I love the old Space Jam, but the new Space Jam, they take the basketball player. What's his name? I don't watch basketball. I'm wearing a basketball shirt.
LeBron James.
LeBron James. Yeah. So they get LeBron James into the WB office, and they tell him, "Hey, this is your future in the movie industry. We're going to take your face and we're going to artificially create you in all these movies. You're going to be in like Batman. You're going to be in Joker, whatever. It doesn't matter. Like all these movies, and we're just going to artificially."
This is the plot of Space Jam?
Yeah. So they're telling him, we're going to artificially put you in these movies. And he's like, no, I'm not going to do that. So they suck him into.
Oh, that's how he gets sucked in?
Yeah. They suck him into the computer, basically, I guess.
Weird.
I barely watched it. I didn't watch the whole thing. It's a whatever. It's a good movie for kids, maybe. I prefer the old one, but let's kind of reverse a little bit. Yeah. Let's go back. So I want to tell you what I think aliens are.
Okay, yes.
I've thought about this for a very long time. I've had experiences where I've witnessed maybe UFOs. And I've mentioned it on the podcast 100 times. And I have a piece of paper inside of this room right now that I wrote in 1998 where I documented it.
When I was 11, came down from the stars.
Whenever you came, maybe it was you. Maybe it was you.
Maybe it was me.
I was looking up at the stars. I was at my grandmother's house in the middle of nowhere in East Texas. And you could see the Milky Way. You could see all the stars in the sky. Yes. And around 8 or 9 stars started moving simultaneously. And it was very slow. And they were all moving at the same speed together. And then they just stopped. And I told my mom, I was like, I think I saw something like weird. It wasn't satellites. because
Yeah.
satellites would have just moved across the sky. These just
Yeah.
moved and then stopped.
Weird.
And so it was like unexplained. I've never, I mean, and I've remembered it ever since. Even before the note, like my mom actually recently gave me this piece of paper from my old diary, and Drew and I had talked about this on the podcast before she even gave it to me. And I was like, holy shit, like it is true. Like it did actually happen. This was something that I experienced. And I've seen other stuff since then. Like I've seen random things in the sky, but nothing so significant that it would just impact me so greatly. But I think that aliens are ancient human beings, or, okay, so think about it this way. So Elon Musk wants us to become an interplanetary species. He wants us to colonize Mars and terraform Mars. Mars used to be an Earth-like planet, and Earth used to be a Mars-like planet. What if in the past we left Mars, which was an Earth-like planet, and terraformed Earth?
Okay.
And this that didn't survive on the old Mars that was terraformed, which was the old Earth, left Earth to become an interplanetary species somewhere else.
Okay.
Or became extinct. Anyway, now I'm confusing myself. So I'm really.
You think they're Mars people?
This is very confusing. Okay, so either it's ancient human beings, or Drew and I came up with this conspiracy where there's a Jughead. And Jughead is artificial intelligence. So if we keep advancing as a human species, creating technology, pretty soon we're going to create a whole new consciousness. Just like before there were human beings, human consciousness was created. Now we are creating a whole new consciousness. What if after we are all extinct, that artificial intelligence consciousness wants to replicate or simulate the creation of artificial intelligence, and they create the human species again, kind of like a science project, and they're watching over us, and they are the UFOs. It's just computer technology watching over us, viewing us. And that's why they're so fast and so advanced, because we're not there yet, because it's hundreds and hundreds of years ahead of our time.
It's like a bunch of Prometheus Davids in the sky.
Yeah, just like cameras, just like taking in the information.
Well, and they could theoretically, with that, if that was the case, control whether we were aware or not aware of them at all. And with everything we're seeing, assuming they don't want us to find clues.
That's the thing. That's why I don't think that they're.
Yeah.
I don't think that they're evil, because they could have just killed all of us already.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think it's going to be like a Mars attack situation.
Well,
you know what I mean?
If you also think about like deja vu, and you feel like maybe I've done it before. What if we are in some kind of alien artificial intelligence simulation where we do relive our lives over and over through this experiment? It's just like an everlasting gobstopper event.
Okay.
You know, just like it's just always happening forever, for all of eternity, because what will happen has happened, and what's going to happen
has already happened.
You know. Yeah. But such an interesting thought. It's just like, what if we are the God of a whole new consciousness, and they just want to figure out what their God was, just like we want to find out what our God is. Like, what is God? People ask that question all the time. Why wouldn't artificial intelligence ask that? What is God?
Let me ask Olivia, like, this is where the point I always get to with these, I would call them theories, not conspiracies, because we're not assigning like any kind of like intent.
We're not going
anyone.
On Reddit to do this.
You got the Kool-Aid we sent you though, right?
Yeah, I did drink it.
Okay,
good.
But say you're exploring like the logical conclusion of simulation / Jughead theory, or alien, like belief in alien species. Like, do you have a strong enough belief or desire to believe any of those things to where you would ever make different decisions in your day-to-day life based on it. You know, like that's kind of where I get to, like, it's really cool.
Yeah.
But now that I know we're in a simulation in my head, am I going to do anything different? You know.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of on the same page to where I'm not like, yeah, yeah, I think for me, I'm like, if they told me that, if they were like, if, you know, no BS, guys, like aliens are real, I'd be like, cool.
Yeah.
Let's just keep on doing what we're doing, I guess.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I think what Drew's trying to say is, if you found out life was, let's say, like it's an ancestry simulation. So we have video games that are almost at the point where they're indistinguishable from reality.
Yeah.
So who's to say that in the future, with all the videos that we've taken and the photos and, you know,
This
the
is all
DNA,
just projection.
well, and the ancestry DNA, you know, you try to find out who your ancestors are, you send in your DNA. Who's to say in the future that they don't create an ancestry simulation so that let's say you have kids, their kids can experience what their great grandparents were like, and maybe live their life. It seems like a lifetime, but maybe it's only minutes to them through DNA and through all of this artificial videos and, you know, photographs that they have. They could simulate what that life was like.
Yeah.
But if you found out life was a simulation, would you just say fuck it and go jump off a cliff because you know it doesn't matter? I'm gonna wake up, I'm gonna be somebody else in a room where there was a computer, and simulation's over, it doesn't matter, I'm gonna start a new simulation. I think that's what Drew was trying to get at, right? Like, you're not gonna just say fuck life and,
no,
you know,
I keep living the simulation.
Exactly.
Because I'd be like, well, I obviously wanted to do this.
Right.
You know what I mean? Might as well just keep making my silly little movies. And
who would believe that anyway? Like, even if somebody told you, like, even Elon Musk going and saying he thinks that life is a simulation, that there is a percent chance that it is, it's just like, for someone to just be like, you know what, screw everything, I'm gonna go into a room, I'm gonna kill a bunch of people, and then I'm gonna kill myself. You know, that's mental illness.
Yeah.
I think that everybody appreciates who they are as a person, their biological form. And I think that if we were to get Neuralink, which I'm sure you know what Neuralink is.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very scary.
Yeah, it is.
I'm like, I don't want anything in my head.
Well, that's another thing. Like, you have to think about, like, what happens after you die. So if you were to upload your consciousness and decide to get Neuralink, you would be deciding to do something that was like a sure thing, where we don't know what happens after we die now in the biological form.
Yeah.
But if you were to get Neuralink, you would just be like uploaded to the internet, and you would live forever consciously as your own conscious, whatever that is.
Yeah.
That's one possible application of Neuralink. I always debate you on this, but it's like that's like the most extreme.
I'm sure Olivia's going to get Neuralink though, because she was born in 1998.
I will never get Neuralink.
Really?
No, never. Because I'm like, to me, I'm like, I feel like there's a difference between like consciousness and like soul. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, when those two things separate, like, what is consciousness? It's not really anything. Because I'm like, I think your soul is what's like moving beyond and forward and backwards, and you know what I mean?
Karma.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's like a weird reverb, you know what I mean, that you put out there.
What if karma is everything, and everything that you do in this life affects your next life? So what if, let's say you are just like a really good person in this life, and you do everything right. In your next life, everything's going to be good for you. But let's say you're a piece of shit, and you don't care about anything. You have no morals. You don't care about people's feelings, anything. Just fuck it. The next life is going to be hell. So then you think about heaven and hell, and people are like, if you do this, you're going to go to hell when you die. What if that's all karma? What if your next life is hell, if you're negative, and is if you're positive your previous life. That
This is a good question, and I think this is kind of like what I think about often for like myself.
Right.
Is it's a thing where I'm like, there are times where you're like, things are going so bad, I'm just gonna choose to be like so like mad about this, you know what I mean? And then that's the thing where I'm like, well, if you're always learning an eternal lesson, this is your chance to like improve, you know what I mean, on like a grander eternal scope, you know what I mean? But yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting. I'm of the theory that like you know, I hope that like humanity and that like souls and consciousness and stuff were created out of some form of like love. So I would hope that that can be like in a, you know what I mean, in my own like hippie way of like, could be like if that is, I choose to look at like the basis of creation and stuff like that was a place out of like love, because I think that's the only way to like move forward and not go crazy. So I'd like to think that like, yeah, if you put like love into and try to love on the people around you, it'll only like improve the situation. Yeah. Hopefully that's, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And
what do you, yeah. No, go ahead, Drew.
Well, I was just going to say, you could, rather than saying fuck it, if you found out like everything you thought you knew was real, why not believe in, that's kind of what I was getting at. Your actionable like takeaway from believing in karma is to do good things. It's like very, very like a win-win way of looking at life. You're gonna have good karma in the immediate because it usually being nice to people usually has a better result. But
and the thing too about what you finished.
No. I'm just, you can kind of like, you can shortcut the system or cheat the system by like taking some, you know, bad approaches to things, but for the most part it won't pay off in the long run.
I think sometimes with people when they talk about karma and they're like, oh, I want to do good things so that good things come back to me and stuff like that, I'm like, but that intrinsically is selfish and that defeats the point of karma. So karma should be for others if you really want it to work, you know what I mean?
I think about that all the time, like this is selfish for me to even talk about this certain example is selfish in my opinion. But I used to do a lot of charity auctions. I would sell VHS and I would do charity auctions. And I remember one day my brother came into my office and John, if you're listening, I'm sorry that I'm mentioning this. It's no offense to you. But he came into my office and I told him what I was doing. And he was like, why are you doing that? I was like, I don't know. I'm just doing it just because like, I feel like it's something that I should be doing. Like there's no reason behind it. I'm just doing it. Mostly because I feel like if I'm selling artwork, I'm not deserving of everything that I'm getting for it. Like if I'm getting money for something that I'm passionate about, that I love, I don't feel like I deserve every single cent of whatever I make for that. Like I feel like other people are more deserving. I feel like there are other people who need money more than I do. And so I was doing these charity auctions and it made me feel good. Like it made me cry at times. Like I would think about it and I would get so passionate that I would cry. And I would just be like so happy that I could do something that would make a difference, that I could change somebody else's life maybe. And so there are people out there that just don't think about those things. And John, like I said, if you're listening, this isn't about you. This is not about you. All you did was ask a question. But it's like not everybody gets it. Not everybody is there. Not everybody wants to give their personal possessions away or their money away to other people for a greater cause. Not saying that you don't, John. But you know what I mean? Like this is not
Three
a personal
denials
attack.
equals.
I swear to God.
I'm like, John, this is the invitation to commit arson.
Well,
against your
here's the
brother.
bad karma on me is that I'm even mentioning this. But
True.
all I'm saying is you have to do things that make you feel good. If you're doing something and you feel bad about it, it's usually a negative something. Like if you do something and you think that there's going to be some kind of negative repercussion, you probably shouldn't be doing it. If it makes you tear up, if it makes you feel love, if it makes you feel connected to the universe, like, you know, whenever I create artwork and I can talk about movies with people, I feel this positive interaction between other people that's connecting us, even if there's all kinds of shit going on in the world. That people are suffering and people are, you know, just like hating and just being destructive, and no matter what's happening, there's somebody's life, even if it's just one person, you can help people. If you're just positive in one instance, that could be a ripple throughout all of eternity. So like with you, with Fear Street, I mean, in all of eternity, and so many people love that you were a part of that. You know, like you are going to be an icon your whole life. No, I'm serious. You are going to be a ripple in this universe, even if, you know, we don't relive our lives over and over. You're going to ripple throughout time forever.
I think that's definitely been a cool part about doing this, is seeing the reaction to it.
Right.
And that's been very like, not like self-satisfying, but it does make me very like emotional that it's connected with because that's the thing where I'm like, if you get lucky enough to be passionate about art and then get to do art as like a job and then get to also put it out, you know what I mean? It's a thing where I'm like, I've only ever wanted to do things for like kids watching Fear Street that like movies did for me when I was their age, you know so to be in a movie that has done that has been really cool. It feels like a very cool full circle moment in my life, one of them that I hope to have more of.
So what are your favorite movies of all time? Let's go there, because this is a very hard question. So I don't expect you to answer all of them. I can, you know what? Let's all do it.
Okay.
Drew and I.
I'm curious what y'all's are.
Well, we've had a top 10. Maybe let's do a top 10. That's a lot. That's a top 5. Top 10. All time. Let's do all time. But so this is fun because the audience doesn't know. We haven't planned this. This is not planned.
Okay.
We're gonna just off the top of our heads, and we're gonna go in rotation.
Okay.
Let's do 10 to 1, but it doesn't have to be in order. Let's just name 10 movies.
Okay.
And before each movie, let's name our number so we don't lose count. So Olivia, if you say your first movie, say we'll all go to 10. So be great. 1 battle, and we'll go rotation and just
great. So each we go. So I list one movie, and then like Drew lists one movie, and you list one movie.
Yeah.
Amazing. That's great. It gives you time.
Yeah. Top of your head though.
Okay. I think maybe my favorite movie of all time is Point Break.
Oh, awesome.
Point Break is incredible. It's an incredible movie. Yes, and I just think it's such a good. It's like it does, so, and I love Catherine Bigelow, and I'm like, that is a movie with a capital M. I love that movie.
So you're not talking about the remake? Yeah.
Not the remake. I did see that in theaters with my family, but not the remake. Where they travel the globe or whatever.
Are you and your dad really close?
Yeah.
Okay, so is that why?
No.
Is that why you love Point Break? No.
I literally watched Point Break like as an adult. I don't think we ever watched Point Break, but I remember like both of my parents talking about how it was like a really great movie. But there were some that like they would talk and we just missed. But that's one that I found in adulthood. And I think that movie is incredible.
It's such a good movie. I'm so happy that you named that movie. It's
such a good movie. And I think like Patrick Swayze is so
his
scary
hair in
it
that.
and like, oh my gosh. And like the heist scenes, like people talk about the Heat heist scene, but like the Point Break robbery scenes are better. I'll say it
God.
Now. No, I'm kidding.
This
Heat
girl
heist
is awesome.
scene is incredible. But
dude, Heat is like, incredible.
The Heat heist scene, I think they're equal in my brain. Like I think, you know what I mean? Like it's so good. And then I think like when people talk about the Dark Knight heist scene and they're like, it's from Heat. I'm like, it is also from Point Break.
Yes.
Christopher Nolan has definitely seen Point Break and he definitely took notes.
Well, yeah, exactly. Christopher Nolan was actually inspired by Heat for the Dark Knight.
Yeah, people talk. They're like, "Oh, he like loved Heat," and I'm like,
most likely,
Point
Point Break too, because totally.
You can tell the masks and everything. It's great.
I'm up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number one
favorite movie all time. No takebacks.
No takebacks.
I always revolve like between 2 or 3 different David Lynch movies, but I'll go with Blue Velvet for today, for this week.
Okay.
And that's usually the one I always end up coming back to.
So, all right. That's great.
My number one is The Blue Lagoon.
Oh, the one with
blue theme.
Brooke Shields.
Yeah, I love that movie so much because it's like innocence, and it's just like this brother and sister are stuck on an island. They don't know anything else but love and what they're experiencing together. And it's just like it's one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen. I love like deserted island movies, and I think it's so original. And yeah, that's my number one pick.
Hey, watch. I've never seen Blue Lagoon.
Really?
Yeah, I've never seen it.
Oh, watch it.
I'll watch it. It's like on a list somewhere. You know what I mean?
You gotta watch it.
Saved on IMDb to watch.
Yeah.
Okay, is it my turn again?
Yes.
I think maybe this one's gonna sound very film school kid of me, but I really love Donnie Darko. I think that's a great movie. Like when he's like, when the line of like the exchange of when he's like, that's some good shit, isn't it? And he's like, it's a fucking cigarette. Like I'm like that, and then it cuts.
Shut up.
And does like the Tears for Fears. I'm like, this movie rocks.
Oh, that's the best scene ever in any movie. Tears for Fears, head over heels. And then it oh my god! And then it goes into the classroom. And
the slow-mo kids doing their performance,
dude. You know what? That's when I knew that I wanted to become a writer, even though I haven't become one yet. That's when I knew I wanted to become one and be an actor. Is when I first saw that movie and I heard the soundtrack with those slow-mo shots. And the intro, whenever he's looking over the mountains, and then he gets on his bicycle and he starts riding back to Echo and the Bunnymen.
Yes,
it's just so like, good. Oh my god, what a beautiful fucking movie! Like such a good movie.
It's a great movie. I one time had surgery, and I was like laying, and they had done the anesthetic, and I was like, "Is my doctor listening to the Donnie Darko soundtrack?" And I like looked over at his laptop and it was like Spotify Donnie Darko playlist.
Nice.
And I passed out. And I was like, what a funny thing.
Yeah. What a funny thing.
What a funny thing to be listening to.
That's such a funny thing to be listening to during this.
During surgery,
it is both like calming and unsettling.
Yeah, he should have been listening to the Eternal Sunshine soundtrack.
Just something a little lighter, you know?
Yeah.
Just the score to Punch Drunk Love.
Yeah.
It's really hyped up.
Drew, number 2.
Yeah. So the fun thing about doing this is like anytime we talk about a movie, it kind of makes me think about movies I might not have thought of otherwise. Mm-hmm. For me, this is gonna sound so like not realistic, but I remember for my number 2, I'm gonna go with the movie 13. The Evan Rachel Wood movie.
Oh,
nice.
That's so good.
Because I love coming of age movies, and it also like hit me at a time where I hadn't seen that many indie movies or something. Just the way it was really grounded and shot was something I didn't start like watching movies seriously or like closely until I was pretty old, late teens or something. And so I just thought it was a really good like teenage story on top of like shot in a way I hadn't seen before, and performed in a way that was just very natural.
Yeah.
Fantastic movie. I want to watch that all the time. I really do. It's kind of like The Real Cancun. I'm sure none of you have ever seen that, but
I don't know that I would compare that.
Have you ever seen The Real Cancun?
Yeah, I have.
No.
Oh God, it's like watching The Hills, or like watching
well, it was a
The Real World
production.
It's like watching The Real World, but it's a movie.
Yeah.
And it's all in Cancun with this group of friends, and somehow they pull you in, and they're able to get you introduced to these characters in an hour and a half.
Wow.
My number 2 is very hard. This is all very hard. Raising Arizona. That's Nicolas Cage's best performance, in my opinion. I think it's one of the greatest comedies out there. It's just so real and raw, and the Coen brothers actually ended up not ever wanting to work with Nicolas Cage again after that because he was all over the place, and he was like telling them who the character was instead of taking direction. He was like, no, this is who he is.
That's so funny.
That's my number 2.
Wow. Okay, my number 3. You said a Coen one. I'll say a Coen one. I love A Serious Man.
Ooh, yeah,
that
nice.
movie is so great. That movie is so great, and I just think it's so good, and it like the surrealist elements in it I think are so nice. And I got to work with Amy Landecker, and I like day one was like, "You're in A Serious Man. Can I ask you a question about it?" And she was so nice, and she was like, "Yeah, what do you want to know?" And I was like, a couple things. But I love that movie. I think it's very underrated.
I know this isn't what we're supposed to be doing, but like I said last time, I want to just like the way that movie ends with, we don't have to get too specific, but with some kind of like surreal weather phenomenon.
Yeah.
Reminded me of a movie I love, Take Shelter, which is going to have to replace my other stormy movie that I probably would have included.
Twister.
But yeah, so I'm gonna go with the more kind of like psychological thriller element of Take Shelter, and the way in Michael Shannon's performance is disturbing and effective. And yeah, I was blown away by that movie.
Well,
my number 3 is What's Eating Gilbert Grape. Because Leonardo DiCaprio should have won an Oscar for that. He was gonna win. I mean, he was in there. He was like, they were like naming names. They were naming names, and he was in there, and he was like so happy. He didn't win, and I'm just like, fuck. Like, such an just, man, he killed that performance.
Yeah.
He killed. That's, oh man, I want to cry watching that movie. I'm gonna watch that tonight. So good. That's my number 3.
Fresh off the podcast, gonna watch What's Eating Gilbert Grape. Pour myself a big glass of milk and watch the saddest movie of all time.
I'm gonna eat spaghetti in a bathtub. Wait, that's Gummo.
And watch What's Eating Gilbert Grape.
Yeah.
It's so sad.
All right, number 4.
Okay, number 4. Now I'm getting stressed because we're at.
We could just go to 5 if you guys want.
No, I can do 10. That's
okay, let's do 10. Okay.
Because I've got so many.
Okay, good. I don't want to make you feel like you need to do it. So if you want to go to 10, we'll go to 10.
We can go to 10. We can go. Okay. That's the thing where I'm like, only 10?
Yeah.
Because I just simply can't decide. This is a recent favorite of mine. There's this movie called Luz. It's Luz, and it came out, I think, in 2018. It's German, and it's like an hour and 6 minutes or something. It's not even necessarily like a tight 90. It's less, but it's great. It's a great like possession movie, and it's just like a movie that I had like never seen a movie like it before. So that's up there for me because I think about it all the time. Great score.
I remember seeing that trailer and kind of forgot to follow up on watching it.
Check it out. I think it's on Shudder. I think I watched it on Shudder.
Cool.
But Les was really good.
What are we at, 4?
Yeah.
That was 4. So my number 4, I can't let it go any further down the list if this is ranked at all. Would be Ginger Snaps. Another kind of,
Ooh.
it's a sister story that's
Yeah.
kind of told through the metaphor of them turning, not a metaphor, but like turning into a werewolf slash becoming women, and then all the kind of like insane bodily changes that come along with that. So
Released in
Yeah.
2000. You were only 2 years old, Olivia.
I know.
have you seen
'cause
Ginger Snaps?
I saw Ginger Snaps, like I need to watch it because I like watched it with my mom as a kid on TV. So it was definitely like edited down, and
I need to watch it again too.
Yeah, but I remember watching it.
And I need to buy the snacks by Nabisco. Not a sponsor.
Yeah. No, the World Market Ginger Snaps at Christmas time are the best.
I love
not the best
Christmas.
name. They always talk about regretting the
We
name
have to
of
make
the
this
movie.
roll
Of
out.
Ginger
Maybe
Snaps?
we should name one Christmas movie by the end.
Okay.
Okay,
But,
well, I have mine.
Okay.
Do I have
So
mine?
my number 4 is Forrest Gump.
Wow. Nice.
I love Forrest Gump so much. It's such a beautiful story. You know, it's about this guy who is basically picked on his whole life, but he accomplishes everything that he's ever wanted to accomplish, even if he doesn't even realize it or appreciate it like as much as the next person. Like he just does everything that he ever wants to do just for the love of his life.
Yeah.
And it's just such a beautiful movie, and Drew hates it. I just wanted to get there.
Have you watched the movies that made us about Forrest Gump?
No.
Do you watch
I haven't.
Series on Netflix?
No.
Oh, it's great. It's like a very short, every episode's about the making of like a classic movie. And they just put out a
I'm
new
gonna watch
season.
that after What's Eating Gilbert Grape.
Yeah, and then pop on movies that made us. But they just released new episodes, and one was Forrest Gump.
Oh wow. Yeah, it's so
fun.
good. Tom Hanks is one of my favorite actors. He's such a genuine person. I feel like I don't know him, but I just feel like he's such a genuine person.
He's done it all.
Every time he wins an
movie.
Oscar or he's on stage anywhere, he starts crying and talking about his family and his wife and how much he loves them. And I'm just like, I love this guy.
All
Sleepless in Seattle.
I think to put this topic to bed once and for all, hopefully.
You hate
I think,
Forrest Gump.
I just think it's been like mocked, and I'm a weak person, and I've let like the public like ridicule and how easy it is to he is, when you were talking about how earnest he is as a person and a performer, it kind of reminded me that like just because other people, it's easy to make fun of the performance, he's definitely not like making, it's not a comedy.
I mean, at the end, whenever the feather's floating off after his son gets on the school bus, he's like, I love you, Forrest. He's like, I love you, Daddy. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah,
Get
see, I
out
can't.
Of here, the feather.
I can't feel that.
Feather.
You're like, I don't.
Feather.
I just don't relate. You're like,
God.
it's just a feather.
Yeah.
I cry every single time I watch that movie. I cry. I don't care. I
You don't
cry.
even care. No.
All right, number 5. Let's go, Olivia. Before I
Okay.
cry.
Thinking about Forrest Gump. I'll do my Christmas movie now, and I'll hit you with one that one of those unusual Christmas movies. Eyes Wide Shut.
Ooh.
Christmas movie.
Nice.
Christmas
Isn't that Stanley
movie.
Kubrick?
It
Yeah,
is
his
his
last
last
movie.
movie.
It was his last movie, and such a spectacular movie.
They didn't even really
Very
fully finish it, right? Or
No,
I mean,
he didn't. I think he died before in editing.
Yeah.
Wow. Crazy movie. And so
Crazy movie.
the soundtrack is incredible.
Great
but not only
soundtrack.
that, is just like the build up. Just like it's almost like an art house film, but it's like it's all drama. Like from the start, it's just like anxiety and drama, and then he's on his way to that party, and he gets in, and that whole thing. That's where the movie is. Whenever he's on the way in the taxi, and he drops him off, and then he goes in, and he puts on a mask, and it's just like this cult, and he's witnessing thing that's happening, and then he's found out, and then they're like, come forward, and it's just like, oh my god, good fucking movie. Who's the prostitute in that movie? Is it
Oh, one of them is Vanessa Shaw, who's in like Hocus
Vanessa Shaw?
Pocus and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
she was like a
Yeah.
90s actress. She's great in that movie.
Everybody is
Great
so
in
good
Hocus
in that
Pocus.
movie. Yeah.
Everybody's so good. Everybody's
So
so
good.
good. Nicole Kidman. Love Nicole Kidman.
Oh, yeah.
Love her. She's got another one on my favorites list.
Is that a movie you can rewatch very often?
Yeah, I would say
Okay.
I probably watch it once a year.
Yeah.
Me too.
Just by chance. But it's also a movie that I like more and more each time.
I need to. I
Yeah.
haven't seen it for a while. I mean, I saw it a few times, but over the years. But I need to revisit it.
I always think of it like as a project. Whenever I watch it, like I always try to pay more attention than I did the last time. Like I try to find new things in the movie that I didn't notice because it's so deep and just like so much is going on.
Yeah, so much. I saw that movie. That's like one of the last. I saw it in 2019 at the Alamo Draft House at Christmas.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
Yeah, it was super.
I love the
super
Draft
cool.
House. I just went
I love the Draft House.
I went Friday and saw the Green Knight.
Oh, cool. I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, I won't say anything.
I'm seeing
It's
it tomorrow, so yeah.
I was like, don't spoil, don't spoil.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
That's great.
All right. My number 5, I've been vacillating in my head a little bit while listening, of course. This is like my friend just watched The Master for the first time the other night.
Oh,
and I was trying to think of which Paul Thomas Anderson movie to include. And he just like didn't even realize what he was watching when he put it on and was texting me and my friends about it the whole way through, just blown away. And he didn't even like, somehow he overlooked the fact that it was a PTA movie, and it just kind of reminded me of how exciting it was to see
is this
those
a Christmas movie?
performances. No, I'm saving my Christmas movie.
Okay,
save your Christmas movie.
Okay,
I'm just going to do that last.
wait, you're talking about The Master?
The Master, yeah,
okay,
is my number 5.
Oh,
yeah.
so
I
good.
love The Master.
And but just hearing someone else like like accidentally somehow stumble onto it, who's not like ignorant of film stuff, but it was a beautiful experience for him because he was like watching it without any expectations or hype. and man, it just brought me back to when I first saw it in theaters and
he every time I watch that movie, I have to go out and buy like paint thinner and
just chug it.
Just whatever it is he's drinking,
he's making
the
like
jet fuel and stuff.
Yeah, jet fuel. Like, oh my god, what a good performance. I remember, I was watching this compilation on YouTube of Joaquin Phoenix losing up until he wins every Oscar. So he's nominated a bunch, and I remember he was nominated for several movies, and his reaction kept getting duller and duller. Like his first one was like, oh yeah, great, and then The Master, he was like I swear to God,
like he should have won.
He did that. Yeah, he did that. I guarantee you, it's because he like lost his mind trying to create that character. I guarantee you, he became like a severe alcoholic and was just like a hermit the entire time he was making that movie.
Yeah,
like he killed that performance. But then Joker just blew me away, and I'm like, thank God he won, because he's so fucking good.
Yeah,
so good. Like he's one of my favorite actors, like ever since Signs.
He's great in Signs,
which is
when
my
it cuts
number
to him
5.
and he's sitting on the couch with the kids.
Yeah, Signs is my number 5. I'm gonna have to say it now. It wasn't gonna be Signs, but now that we're talking about Joaquin, it reminds me of like even back then, like he's always had so much passion as an actor, and it's because he lost his brother, and he talks about it all the time. He's like, he's so emotional, and every time he takes on a performance, it reminds him of his brother and what he lost. Signs, one of the best sci-fi movies, I think, in my opinion. I love that movie.
Good alien invasion tie-in too.
Yeah,
good alien invasion movie.
none of us seem to think it's going to go down quite like that. But if it does,
But
yeah.
you know, one of the things about that movie is, you know, they don't show the aliens till the end.
Yeah.
Which is perfect. And it's not even like a lot. Like they barely show them. So it's not like over exaggerated and over CGI, which, you know, it was CGI, but they didn't want to overdo it, I'm sure. Like they just wanted it to be kind of like a surprise at the ending. So it was good. I love that. Spooky
movies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 6.
I think my number 6 is another Joaquin movie, To Die For.
Ooh,
That's
To Die For.
Great movie. And I think everyone is so good in it. And Nicole Kidman is terrifying. And I love Gus Van Sant. I think he's a great director. And that movie is awesome. And I want more people to see it.
Yeah, including myself.
Well,
To Die For is so good.
That was
Matt
such
Dillon
a long
is
time
so
ago.
great. Yeah, it's kind of like
that was like Casey Affleck's first movie, right? Or
yeah,
was it?
like it's like Casey Affleck and Joaquin Phoenix, and they're like 15. Like they're so young, and they're both so good. They're both so good.
Nicole Kidman is very bad in that movie.
Yeah, she's evil in that movie.
Oh, not as an actor, but as a character.
No.
No, the character is evil.
It's such a crazy movie. Gus Van Sant though wasn't Matt Dillon was in that movie, but he wasn't in another Van Sant. Was it The House That Jack Built? Was that Van Sant?
No, that's Lars von Trier.
Oh, that's Lars von Trier. Yeah. That movie's fucked up.
Yeah, I started watching that movie and then I didn't finish it, but it was because I like went somewhere and I should start. I wasn't
you
too
got
deep in.
The ending, the very last scene is the best scene. Like you gotta finish it just for the last scene alone. It's like insane.
I love Riley Keough. I think she's one of my favorite actresses.
Let's just say that the last scene explains the title.
Gross.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that could mean so many different things.
Did I just spoil it?
No.
That's the one.
But to me, I'm like Silence of the Lambs style. He's building a house out of skin. You know what I mean? Like that's, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It is a really fucked up movie. I remember I saw that in theaters and so many people were walking out and I was like rooting them on. Like I was like, yes, this is awesome. Like finally a serial killer movie where the serial killer is like number one.
He wins.
Yeah.
He wins.
He totally wins. Okay, what are we at?
That was 6, right? So I'm at 6.
Number 7.
I'm gonna lighten the mood a little bit with Sophia.
Oh wait! I thought Olivia. Did you say? Oh yeah, yours.
That was my
To Die
6.
For.
Yeah.
To Die For. Yeah.
Mine's gonna be Sophia Coppola's Virgin Suicides.
Yeah.
Just like a tonal movie. I mean, obviously there's like some star power in it, but the vibe. I love movies that just kind of have a beautiful, melancholic, airy, light vibe. I mean, it's like with all the voiceover and the different, like the kind of detached perspective you get of the girls is an interesting way to present the story. And it feels like they kind of dramatic. They are already like ghosts as they're narrating what happened. And so it's just
it's like a suicidal Breakfast Club.
Yeah, which
just like
kind of explains my tastes.
Yeah,
it's so good. I love
Breakfast
it.
Club.
Yeah,
I know. And the first, I can't remember what the sister's name was. The first suicide in that one is like one of the saddest scenes of all time.
Yeah,
she lands.
What a sad movie.
It's such a sad movie.
There's a good Ginger Snaps tie-in too in the opening scene
but
there.
Also, it's just a good innocence, and like, you know, like we don't even as parents or like children looking at your parents, you don't think they understand you, but then you're a parent yourself and you've gone through it all. It's like you don't understand your kids, but really you should almost, because you've been through it. But I guess everything's so different, you know. I guess you couldn't understand. But what a fucked up movie. It's a fucked up movie. I'm gonna go with a lighter movie. It's not that light. It's The Matrix.
I love The Matrix.
I mean, first of all, I would
We've
never
been
even
dancing
talk
around
about
it all the whole
yeah,
conversation.
I mean, simulation theory was like spawned so early, and they did it with The Matrix. And when I was a kid, I didn't even notice.
The Matrix.
I was just like, this is a fucking cool movie. Yeah, but
that's
so
like
well
when I
done.
remember seeing that movie like really young, and
Yeah,
I watched like all three of them with my dad, and then I wore like all black for months after.
Who didn't? Who didn't?
Because
buy
I was
a trench
like,
coat
that
after
is
that?
the best. I just rewatched that movie. The shot where it's like the phone, and then it circles around, and then they appear behind the phone.
Yeah.
I was like, this shot rocks.
I used to have, whenever that movie came out, what was it, 1999?
Yeah.
I had a black bathrobe, and in my backyard, I had a swimming pool. And I would put my bathrobe on and go in the swimming pool with my plastic guns. And I would like do flips over the wall underwater. And like it to me, I wore goggles, so it looked like I was going in slow motion, and my bathrobe was like flowing. And I would have my guns, and I would twist around and shoot. It was like an incredible experience. Seeing that movie changed Hollywood completely and the way that they film movies. I mean, if we didn't have The Matrix, movies wouldn't be like what they are today.
No, The Matrix rocks. I love The Matrix.
Number 7.
Number 7. Okay, I'm going to put them together because to me that they're together in my brain, but it's Batman and Batman Returns.
Ooh.
No,
1989 Batman, Michael Keaton.
Brian's language now.
I love
speaking my language.
Yes. Like I still have my Batman and Batman Returns VHSs. I have that one.
Oh my God.
And I love them. When she spray paints her apartment black as a little kid, I was like, this is awesome. Why can't I do this in my room? They're both so good.
Did you ever watch it on VHS?
Yeah, I only watched them on VHS.
Do you remember the Warner Bros. Preview that's before Batman 1989? This is a quiz question.
I want to say it's Raisinets, but I know that's
not it. It's Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck, and they're selling Warner Bros. Merchandise. And they were like, you can't watch this movie without wearing your Batman Warner Bros. Ball cap. And they're like, and they have like the Batman ball cap and T-shirt, and they're just
now those are
like
$700.
It's just like so crazy. Like that movie, whenever it first came out, like I remember seeing it. It was just like life changing, so good, and it was one of the first hero movies I had ever seen besides The Rocketeer. Man, now I have to rename some of my top 10, but yeah, Batman Returns too. Like they were mad at Tim Burton for Batman Returns because it was so dark. McDonald's didn't know how to merchandise their toys. They were like, it's so dark.
Like, who cares? It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look at us and look at what would come after that. So they could have gone darker.
They could have done it.
Gone darker.
They could have done it. They could have done it.
My number 7, I will again, when we make these lists, I kind of the screenwriter Charlie Kaufman is my favorite writer ever. Eternal Sunshine might have been the first one I saw, but like he almost gets overshadowed by the visual tricks going on in that movie. So it's usually between Malkovich, but I'm going to go with Adaptation this time because the dual Nick Cage performance as Charlie Kaufman and Donald Kaufman, his twin brother, is just the perfect amount of meta kind of commentary. He often inserts themselves into the movie, but this is the one case where he is like, his persona is the star of the movie, although channeled through Nick Cage, which is just a weird power play, but Nick Cage looking as bad as he possibly can look and frumpy on purpose. So like it's all the layers of insecurity and self-consciousness on display there.
Yeah,
Or-
that's
or-
a great movie.
Yeah, I can just watch
Nicolas Cage like changed his appearance completely for that.
it. Yeah.
Like, what did they do? Pluck his hairs? I don't know. Like, his hair was so
It-
thin. Did he just shave his head and wear like a wig?
He's probably had to answer that question, but his hair's for the last 10 or 20 years has been through some
Oh, maybe
some
it was all
different phases.
natural. Sorry, Nicolas Cage.
Did you see I'm Thinking of Ending Things?
I did. Oh my gosh.
I really liked I'm Thinking of Ending Things.
That was one of my favorite movies of recent time. Yeah.
Yeah, I really loved that movie. I thought
Yeah.
it was really good. The camera work in that movie was crazy.
Yeah. So in the last two movies he's written, or maybe starting with Anomalisa, he's directed as well. And that movie was like, I remember reading the
haven't seen
book
it.
and being tripped out by, kind of the twisty narrative in the book.
Mm-hmm.
But the way they do that in the movie is really clever and artistic. So
Yeah.
I haven't seen that yet.
yeah, it came out on Netflix on my birthday last
2020.
year.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's
like
really
September
good.
4th release. I remember it because I was like,
Wow.
happy
Yeah.
birthday to me.
Yeah,
Happy
it
birthday to
was
me.
September 4th. Wow.
And I
yeah.
love Jesse Plemons. He's one of my favorite actors. He's from Texas too.
My number 7 is Adventures in Babysitting.
Ah.
I think that is just it's one of the best comedies besides Raising Arizona with Nicolas Cage. But I love that movie. I love Elizabeth Shue. So 80s. And
So
it was
80s.
one of those movies, like every time we went on a family vacation, like if we were driving to go to Colorado to go skiing, Dad would have a TV VCR in the back of the Suburban, and he would hook up his video camera, which he recorded Adventures in Babysitting onto. Like he had this little tape that had it on there, and he would always play that for us. And it was one of my favorite movies of all time, and I love that movie so much.
That's incredible. Such
Yeah.
a setup.
I know.
Watched Adventures in Babysitting.
Yeah, the perfect way to watch it. It was a debut by your dad. Yeah.
A debut.
Yeah, it was a deboot. He debooted.
The original. The
Mhm.
original one.
The original debooter.
Your dad. You're like, I see where I get it from. Okay. Now, this has been my whole life. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Is
Number
it
8, Olivia.
Oh man, I think I'm gonna put a Paul Thomas Anderson one in there too, because he's maybe my favorite director. I haven't decided, but yeah, since you said The Master, I'll say Punch Drunk Love.
Yeah.
Because I think that movie is so fantastic. And it's like it's like a unexpectedly so sweet and so tense, and Adam Sandler is so good. And the sisters, the scene when he like breaks the sliding glass door, like
Yes.
it's perfect start to finish.
All because of pudding.
Yes, all because of pudding. All because of pudding.
And then
And a
Uncut
car
Gems.
crash.
We
Uncut
gotta give him.
Gems.
We gotta give him Uncut Gems. Like that was like, okay, so there's Punch Drunk Love, best performance, Uncut Gems. It's like,
I know.
yeah,
He's proven
So good.
himself time and time again.
so good. Needs to win an award.
Yeah,
Insanely good.
insanely good. Tragic that he didn't win for either. Wasn't
Yeah.
even nominated.
Yeah, he was a little saucy about the snub
Jennifer
this past year.
Aniston. Jennifer Aniston was saucy too. She
Yeah.
said that he should have won for
Oh yeah,
I agree.
mean, it was
I
a-
agree.
It was a horrible snub. Yeah, that movie's
insane, and it's all politics.
Yeah.
Let's
All
not talk about it.
politics.
Let's not talk
Who
about it.
cares? Who cares?
Yeah, number eight, Drew.
Yeah, so my number 8, probably the newest movie that I'll mention, unless I change my mind, will be The Social Network.
Oh, I love this.
Yeah, it's like piggybacking on the writing is incredible. Of course, you get the best of Aaron Sorkin, but not maybe like paired with a master filmmaker and Fincher and Jesse Eisenberg, one of my favorite actors. It's weird that they could take like such a modern subject that had already changed like by the time the movie came out, and then it certainly has changed like 10 years later when you're rewatching it, and it's still just like it's more of like capturing the themes of, well, it was very cynical about it 10 years ago when people were not nearly as cynical as they are now about it. So the fact that it was able to kind of anticipate that, or Fincher and Sorkin were already just older dudes who were going to be cynical about social media. Had that working for them, and the movie is just, all that said, it's like really fun to watch. I mean, it's got like the courtroom drama element cut together with the origin story, just a really fun like origin story that we all were there for, versus something like older. So yeah, I can watch that movie anytime it's on.
One of the best scores ever.
And
I
the score,
love them.
On top of all that,
whoa. Best scores ever.
Yes.
Let's not go.
We can agree to disagree, but it's one of the best scores ever.
Blade Runner.
I've never seen Blade Runner.
The original Blade Runner. Listen to the score, and then Uncut Gems also.
Yeah, the Uncut Gems.
There's a lot of good scores out there.
There's a lot of good scores.
You're right.
But Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross had to make a score. The Gone Girl score.
It's true.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Great score. The best. I have all their scores on vinyl. That's how invested
Drew
I am.
and I, we do episodes called Movie versus Music. And we will talk about how impactful the movie was versus the music, and which is better. Could we watch or listen to more?
Interesting.
Yeah, the last one we did was Uncut Gems, or Daniel LaPatton's
Great
score. And I'm just like, dude, I could listen to that score. I listen to that score when I mow my lawn. Like I listen to it, all the time.
I did a lot of quarantine walks to the Uncut Gems score.
Yeah, it's so crazy good.
There's a video of him online explaining how he scored the scene where they fight in the street and Julia Fox walks off alone. That's a great video.
Oh, I know. I watched all of it.
Yeah, so good.
I play music myself, so I hate him for how good he is. I really do, because I try to play similar music. Like, that's my style. I do like cinematic stuff. And so like whenever I hear that, I'm just like, man, I could be so much better. And I kick myself in the ass. My number 8, I'm going to open up a beer to, is Leaving Las Vegas. Another Nicolas Cage classic.
Wow, he is winning this segment.
Dude, that movie is one of the best performances I've ever seen on film. I
haven't seen that, but that's one of my dad's favorite movies. He's like,
never seen Leaving
No,
Las
because
Vegas?
we watched Honeymoon in Vegas over quarantine. My dad was like, let's double feature this with Leaving Las Vegas.
Yes.
I don't know if I'm in the right mindset to do such a total shift.
Our last episode was Will It sequel, Honeymoon in Vegas and Leaving Las Vegas. Will Leaving Las Vegas sequel to Honeymoon in Vegas? And yes, it will. Yes. If you watch Honeymoon in Vegas and watch Leaving Las Vegas exactly after that,
it makes sense.
It makes sense. It's almost like it's just like continuing the story.
Yeah.
It's so good. You got to watch it.
If your dad wants to double feature your appearance on this podcast with the one before,
and if you want to listen to the last episode before,
I'm like, y'all can have my dad on. He'd be able to talk about this all day.
We'll have your dad on.
Have him on.
Yeah. Invite him.
All right. I'll be like, I have an appearance request for you, Kev.
Number 9.
Oh man.
Number 9. Okay, I'm gonna throw out a Quentin Tarantino one.
Ooh,
and it's one that
I was going there too.
Yeah, I just watched this recently and I was like, people don't love this the most, but I thought it was awesome. Jackie Brown was so good, but I am gonna say Death Proof, because Jackie Brown was so good. But Death Proof, like that, by the end, Death Proof was over. Is that it right there? Yes, this is a great cover. Wow, I loved Death Proof. Like, I like stood up at the end. I was like, this movie rocked. It's so good. The payoff is incredible. Like. And he's so scary and so funny in it. And it's just, I love it. And I love Austin because I lived there for a little bit and it was fun to watch.
Me too.
Feels like it loves Austin.
Yeah, I lived there while they were filming that. And
that's so cool. I used to
go to the Texas Chili Parlor all the time because it does literally have the best chili in the world. But the funny thing is, the Texas Chili Parlor, they film Gueros.
Yes.
It's like...
Yes.
Yeah, but it's Death Proof is like a dad movie. It's
Yeah, I
like
love
it's got
Death
the
Proof.
best car chase scene ever.
Yes.
And it's like before that, my dad was always like, Ronan, it's got the best car chase scene ever. Ronan, you got to watch it with me. And so I watched it as a kid and I'm like, yeah, it's pretty good. But then I watched Death Proof with him and he's like, this is better.
You're like, this is a great car chase scene.
Yes.
It's just so good. It's just so good.
And the dialogue, and then when he's eating the nachos.
Yeah.
You know,
and when
like
it flips from like black and white back to color, like I just love all the little, it's just like a real quirky movie. And I feel like
another
it's
cool
like,
thing is he doesn't use CGI. So whenever the two cars were crashing into each other, it was real cars. They had, I think he said they had 7 of the same car and they had to crash it several times, but they used like dummies inside of the car whenever they crashed it with several camera views. And it was all like real, no CGI.
Yeah. And that the initial car crash where it like does every girl, it's just such it's a movie. Like it's just him having the most fun. I love that movie. I love it.
So good. Yeah. Good pick.
Thanks.
Man, I've changed my mind a bunch of different times throughout that discussion. I was gonna go with like a classic horror movie, but I'm gonna go with a newer horror movie that's like a throwback to 80s horror. It Follows.
You still have to name a Christmas movie, just so you know, Drew.
No, I'm saving that for the last. Yeah. So number 9, It Follows.
Yeah.
The kind of like the discussion about score made me think, and that would be a real tough choice for me to choose between the score for It Follows versus the movie itself, but they're just inseparable. And there's like, related to the Tarantino thing, you almost have an advantage as a filmmaker if you're really, really talented of having been able to soak up all these decades and reference them and evolve on them. So it like nails the 80s horror vibe, but uses kind of like, and tonally like fear of sex and sex as a trope in horror movies. It's able to reference that in a very like subtle way, and then just like be a very satisfying, very disturbing like horror premise that is in the like aesthetic style that I love.
Apparently It Follows was like a reference to Old Maid, the game.
Oh, funny.
I like heard yeah, I don't remember what it was, but someone I was on Clubhouse a while back and they were asking what the meaning was with the game that they were playing in the movie. And I was kind of I don't remember what was said exactly, but I remember like making like a reference, like maybe the movie is kind of like a metaphor for the game, like Old Maid. But I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that.
I don't know how the game goes.
It's me either. I'm like, I remember it being a game.
Yeah. So the players try to like discard all the cards in their hands. And I don't remember. Anyway, look it up. I'm just trying to sound like a smart guy on a podcast. I don't really know what I'm talking about, but I think there is a reference there, and the reason why they put the game in the movie is to say that the movie is kind of similar to the game.
Interesting. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly. I did my research then. I don't remember now. Number 8.
9, right?
Number 9. Number 9.
trying to squeeze an extra.
True Romance.
Oh.
True Romance has a fantastic score. Great score. Yeah. And it's a great movie. And it's one of the movies that Quentin Tarantino wrote when he was able to sell it and make Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't for True Romance, Quentin Tarantino would not be Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
Basically.
That's very true.
Yeah.
I've never seen that movie and I need to. Very bad.
Oh.
Incredible. It gets referenced every day.
Yeah, just think of like
every day I'm like, I haven't seen it. I'm so sorry.
It's a love story about a guy who wants to completely delete his love's history with someone who's very toxic, who's dangerous, and they try to do it by well, I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to spoil. It's going to spoil everything. Just watch it. Just watch it. You'll love it. It's a really good movie. All right, number 10. This is it.
My hands are sweating trying to think of my.
I know. 10. I didn't even say Sleepless in Seattle.
I saved the Christmas one because I knew I would.
You're like, I'll stress out about it if I do it.
Yeah.
Oh man.
This is it. This could even be your number one because number one wasn't even number one. You know,
no, Point Break is my number one. I'm deciding it now. It's going to be my number one. Every time I watch it, I feel the same feeling, which is like, yes, like huge, great. The skydiving sequence, I can't get into it.
Oh God, it's so good.
I can't get into it twice. Oh man, I'm so stressed. I think I'm gonna put a comedy in there because I haven't really done it yet. And there's like Game Night that came out just a few years ago. I think that movie is incredible, and it like so is
good.
Perfect. And every time I watch it, it never gets old. And that to me, that's like a barometer of a good movie. I'm like, no, this movie has like real staying power in my life. And I think it's genuinely very funny and so well cast. And
it is.
It's just it's just fun. Like it was a fun modern movie, and I love like John Francis Daley. I think like him being in Freaks and Geeks and then like going and making these really fun movies. I'm like, this is great. You know, like
Freaks and Geeks, so good.
Yeah. So because he's so good in Freaks and Geeks, and I'm like, it makes sense that he's a director now.
Have you seen Undeclared?
No, I haven't seen Undeclared.
Oh my God, it's Freaks and Geeks, but in college.
I know. I really need
to
see Undeclared.
Undeclared is incredible.
Can you stream that anywhere now?
I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know. If not, I'll figure something out and I'll send it to you guys.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I watched it when it came out, but I haven't rewatched it because it just doesn't seem like it's been on anything.
You know what? I'll do a VHS release and I'll send it to you guys.
Perfect.
Amazing. It's a series. I got a box set of.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I actually, so you said Game Night. I think the same thing. Like my comedy go-to is The Breakup with Vince Vaughn.
Oh, really? I thought that movie was so sad. I watched it. I was like, this
I thought you were gonna say Clue.
No, I love that movie so much. That's like my go-to. Like if I don't know what to watch, I'm like, I need a comedy. I put on The Breakup. It's so funny.
So funny. That is so funny.
Yeah.
No, I remember watching that and being like, I'm heartbroken.
Oh,
I'm heartbroken by The Breakup.
All right, Drew, number 10.
Number 10, you can guess, right? My Christmas movie.
Gremlins?
Yeah, it's Gremlins. There's no this isn't like a debate of what makes something a Christmas movie. It's just one of my favorite movies in general. It's like my earliest horror movie memory. I remember, watching it too young, a babysitter letting me watch it, having nightmares, her talking me down from the edge. And then watching it later, it's just, you get a whole new experience. You can like remember that it was legitimately like disturbing with the creature effects and stuff. You can kind of see what would have scared you about it as a kid. And just the fact that they would come out at dark.
It's scary.
It is scary, but like it's also, you get a whole different like appreciation for it when you watch it as an adult, because it's campy and ridiculous and just kind of like
that's the one where they go to the movies, right? Is that 1 or 2?
Yeah, that's the first one.
The movie scene is hilarious.
Yeah, exactly. There's some like very broad comedy, and then there's some very like kind of twisted dark humor as well. I mean, and just darkness.
That is such a good movie.
Yeah.
Mine is, I want to say similar. I think it's another Warner Bros movie. So my number 10 is a Warner Bros, which they didn't, a lot of people would think that they released a lot of good movies. They haven't released a lot of good movies lately, but in the 80s and 90s, they released a lot of good movies.
Yeah.
And my favorite Christmas movie, and my number 10, which I watch every single year, no matter what, even if I'm in the hospital, Lethal Weapon. That is
Wow.
my number one Christmas action movie comedy. It's so perfect. Fuck Die Hard. Die Hard sucks. Die Hard.
I thought we got past this.
You just got beef about Die Hard?
Well, I have a thing about Die Hard, and I've always said it in the podcast and almost every episode. I hate Die Hard. I read a review that I wrote a few years ago about Die Hard, and I was like, this is a great movie, and I rated it like 4 stars, and now I'm like, fuck old me. That is not
what
me.
was I thinking?
What was I thinking? I can't betray my Lethal Weapon buddy cast.
It doesn't have to be an either or. Yeah,
it's such a great Christmas movie, and I guarantee you, and I wanted to say Christmas Vacation. I love Christmas Vacation so much. I watch it every year with my dad. But Lethal Weapon is one of those movies that is just like one of the best action movies I've ever seen. I think it's because it's a buddy cop comedy. I think that's what I really like about it.
Fun.
Yeah, it's like one of the definitive ones.
I don't want to keep up too much of your time. Do you have a few more minutes to talk about something else?
Yes.
Okay. I really wanted to get into certain categories of things that you like. So we've already discovered the movies and the aliens and afterlife and blah blah blah. We've talked about it all. If you're straight, I want to get into music that you listen to before we let you go. I want to know exactly what you love and what you listen to on a daily basis, whether it's like, 60s, 70s, if there's certain bands that you like, if there's certain albums that you listen to all the time, just genres in particular. What do you like?
This is I'm gonna pull up my Spotify because
I'm
gonna use it for reference. I feel like I listen to so much music and so frequently that I feel like it changes constantly.
Yeah.
But let's see. Lately I've been listening to a lot of Carpenters. That's what's been added a lot.
Excellent.
Cool.
There's a band that my dad showed me in quarantine that's the OCs. And they're, I think, a Bay Area band, but they're like a proper punk band and they're really good. And it's like and it's THEE and then see that over there. Not
so THEEOHSEES.
Yes, they're wonderful. I listen to Goblin soundtracks a lot.
So Suspiria was the one I swapped out at the last second. Speaking of the best
that's a great soundtrack. Yeah. Great sound. And the Deep Red soundtrack is really great.
Okay, so you're into B horror movie and Italian horror.
Yeah, I love Italian. I love Italian horror movies. I watched I always say it wrong. The one with Jennifer Connelly where she can control the bugs.
Creepers.
Is it called Creepers? Is that the American?
It has 2 names.
It's Creepers.
Yeah. And that's I watched that over quarantine.
It's like Philomena or Philip something.
I always say Philomena, and I'm like, no, that's
probably
wrong.
Can I give you some B horror movies? Can I recommend some?
Yeah, I'm always down for B horror recommendations.
I'm gonna recommend a few that I love, like completely. One of them is The Burning.
Okay.
It's a good like sleepaway camp horror movie.
Fun.
From 1986 or 87, I think. I'm not sure.
I'm adding these.
Fact check me on that, but
The Burning. 81.
I think now that's on Shudder as well. It was
hard 84.
81.
It's early, yeah.
The Burning, maybe.
Yeah, it looks pretty fun. It looks very sleepaway camp.
Okay, another one is called Blood Rage. That was released in 1987.
Blood Rage.
And I'm not going to recommend. Oh, really good. Another one is Doom Asylum.
Okay.
That's a horror comedy, but
it's
very well done. Another one, it's called Edge of the Axe.
Oh, all right.
That one, you can find that one in like almost 4K or Blu-ray. I think it was like 80 something.
Very, very fancy.
Yeah, you can find a really good quality of Edge of the Axe. These are really, really good 80s B movies. If you can find them on VHS, scoop them up. I totally recommend just having them just because they're so good.
That's so fun.
Okay, so you're listening to the Carpenters, you're listening to the OCs. What
Yes.
genre do you listen to in particular, like on the most part? Like if, like for me, for instance, like if I'm like hanging out in my backyard and I'm swimming in my pool, I'll listen to like 60s golden oldies. I
Yeah.
love 60s oldies so much. I love the Shins. I love the Beach Boys.
Yeah.
I love Modest Mouse. I like Beach House.
Uh-huh.
You know, I'm actually all over the spectrum pretty much.
Yeah.
Like Cults. I just love like the classic sounds of like the 60s and 70s and 80s recreated in modern music.
Yeah.
But if I can't find that, I'll just listen to oldies for
That's
the most
fun.
part.
That's fun.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
is there
I
like
feel
a certain band maybe in particular?
Let's see. I feel like I listen to. I've really gotten in from like 2018 to now. I listened to a lot of Radiohead.
Oh
That
yeah.
was something that I really like dived into. I think I watched like Vanilla Sky and was like, this song is incredible, and why have I not been paying enough attention to Radiohead? And then I really love them. I don't know, because I kind of like I'm kind of all over the place too, because I make playlists for like movies that I'm writing or like trying to write. And so I think
you're like Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, I feel like when he said that, I was like, oh, that's what I do. We're just kind of the same, you and I, Quentin. But yeah, like right now I'm working on a movie that's like more like very weirdly like 70s and 50s inspired. So it's a lot of like, yeah, like Jefferson Airplane and Paul Simon and Nancy Sinatra. And yeah, let's see what else is on
The
here.
Only Living Boy in New York.
Yeah, that's a great song.
It's a
great song. Yeah, a lot of different stuff. So yeah, I think it kind of depends. I loved the Fiona Apple album, Vegetable Cutters. I thought that album was great.
Nice.
I love Control by SZA. I think that's a great album. There are a few albums that I'll like listen to fully. And those are some of them.
You know, I talked about this with Drew recently. There's so many good bands out there. We actually, it was with the singer of Bare Naked Ladies. We had him on and we were talking about like how there's so many good bands out there, especially like from the 90s or even whatever era, it doesn't matter. They would have these songs that everybody would listen to, but they had so many other songs that nobody had ever heard of before.
Yeah.
So I was going back and listening to my favorite bands, who I say are my favorite bands, because I heard a few songs that were good. And I was like, oh, these are my favorite bands. But I never heard their older music or any other songs on their albums. I was listening to those as well. It's like, it's such an important thing to do. If you want to classify somebody as your favorite musician, you have to know everything that they've done, I think.
Yeah. No, that's kind of how I was with Radiohead. I was like, yeah, I love Radiohead. And then I was like, what? I need to actually listen to full albums of theirs before I start claiming that I love something so much.
Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. Best album ever made.
Album.
That's my favorite album ever made.
That's great album. I think the song Time.
Yes.
Incredible
so
song. Great song. Yeah, that's good.
Us
I've always wanted to do
me.
The where you watch it with the Wizard of Oz.
Oh, I did that in high school.
Does it work?
Well, I remember I was on my way to a party. A couple of friends, I was a junior in high school. A couple of friends picked me up from my house. And they were like, have you ever listened to Dark Side of the Moon? And they were listening to it. And I was like, no, I never listened to it. And they put it on. And I was like, wow, this is really fucking good. And they were like, you should watch it with Wizard of Oz. And I was like, what are you talking about? They were like, it synchronizes with Wizard of Oz. And so they gave me a VHS tape with it synchronized.
Oh, it was already on there.
That's
and
cool.
we got really, really stoned, and I listened to it, and I was just like, fuck, dude, this is like incredible. Like, this is just like the best thing I've ever seen and heard.
Wow.
Amazing experience. You can find it on YouTube.
Oh,
Your
that's
experience?
Yeah, you can find my experience on YouTube. Everything that ever happened.
Like, I videotaped it. It's on there.
I actually wore a GoPro my whole life. So if you want to watch my life, go to YouTube.
It's streaming on YouTube now.
/VCR World.
Okay, cool. That seems a practical use of time.
What's your favorite album, Drew, ever?
Ooh,
Favorite band, favorite album?
yeah. I was gonna say Harry Nilsson, favorite artist.
Never heard of him.
Yeah.
Harry Nilsson.
Yeah. Put the lime in the coconut.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Put the lime in the coconut. What else does
Yeah.
he sing?
Well, and he has, I mean, I was still thinking in terms of movies. He's got that like one of my favorite movie scenes of all time is in the Rules of Attraction during the bathtub suicide scene and his song Without You. Yeah.
Yes, that's okay. That's really good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
And then
Ooh.
well I love the band First Aid Kit. So one of their albums, like Lion's Roar, I think is one of the ones I used to listen to on repeat when I had the Lion's Roar. I had the record of it and just played the record over and over at one point in my life. So
wow,
it's such a harder question to answer than movies. I feel like movies I think about that answer all the time, and with music
I can't live, living is without you. That's what it is.
Nailed it. Yeah. Now I'm gonna tear up.
I can't live.
I'm gonna tear up.
That is a heartbreaking scene.
Yeah.
Oh God, that's gonna make me cry, dude.
Yeah.
That's such a beautiful album.
You did it to yourself.
Song.
Yeah.
I haven't heard
You
the
did it
album,
to
but the
yourself.
song is good. Wait, Olivia, did you say your favorite album?
Let me
Think of it. What? Come on, you know.
I know. What if I was like the Social Network score?
Oh, that's good.
No, I feel like from like start to finish, my favorite album, I think it's like an album that you listen to start to finish. I think it's maybe like Swimming or Circles, the Mac Miller albums, which are like his last two. Like I think those are as complete full albums. And like Circles, the last album he did, you're like the last note of the last song leads into the first note of the first song. So it literally is like a complete circular album.
Oh, wow.
Which I think is cool. Like musically, I'm like, it's so cool. And John Bryan worked on that album, and I love John Bryan.
So it's by Mac Miller, Swimming and Circles, both albums.
Both albums. They're like
I'm gonna have
last
to check
two
those
albums.
out.
They're really incredible.
You know what you should do, and I'm going to tell the VCR World audience this now. Olivia, you should create a playlist for you that other people could listen to.
I know people have been asking me to share my Spotify, and I'm
like top 10.
right.
We'll create like a top 10 Spotify playlist for you, like what you like. Yeah. Because I mean, now that you're like an up and coming actress, I mean, you're gonna go on to do so many good things. People are gonna want to know what you're about. That's true. People are gonna want to know what you listen to, what you like. Yeah. And that's the whole point of this podcast, is to get to know you outside of the actress and outside of the character. Because that stuff, that's just
government's feeding us aliens.
Yeah, it's all just a facade. They want to know who you are because they like who you are. So maybe create a playlist, 10 songs. I'll listen to it. I'm sure everybody else will. Okay. And
maybe I'll put it out with this. When this gets posted, I'll be like, you
totally should. You totally should. And I want to thank you so much for coming on. Thank you. Yeah, it was such a pleasure talking to you. You're so cool. You're so chill. You're one of the best guests that we've ever had. Like, oh my gosh, thanks. Yeah, you're so easy to talk to. It was so much fun. Drew, do you have anything that you want to add? I'm like, tell me more nice things about myself, Drew. I know. Why don't you add something, Drew? It was cool to talk to someone, I know we harped on the age early on, but we're someone that's a little out of our demo, but it turns out, we have a lot of the same cultural touchstones
as it were. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Buzzword
Yeah.
of the episode.
It was it was a pleasure, and yeah,
Thank
just
you.
like
This was so
really
fun.
interesting to hear all your extracurricular
Oh,
interests.
thank you.
Yeah.
Y'all too. This was literally so fantastic.
Awesome.
I love this
Well,
so much.
thank you.
Well, thank
and
you.
obviously we're gonna stop recording now, but